I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Playing from the Tips, Golf Australia Magazine's preview and tipping show that comes to you weekly, telling you all about what's happening in the world of golf and who might win each tournament. This week we're visiting Singapore, Mexico, Los Angeles and Korea for the LIV Golf League, PGA Tour, LPGA Tour and DP World Tour. And myself, Jimmy Emanuel, is joined by two of our regulars and now tipping superstars. First up, we've got the Cleeks GC of the golf podcast world.
What's that?
Veterans can still produce some spark and then occasionally fall away at the end when they get a bit tired. That would be Rod Morri. Rod, welcome.
Thank you very much. What have I done that's Cleek-like? I had a shocking week on the tips this one. Just gone.
Yeah, well, they started really well and they fell away.
I don't think any of them started really well either. Anyway,
and then secondary, we've got the underrated Stinger GC.
Okay.
Bob up, win occasionally, get a little bit of happening. Adrian Logue, welcome.
Thanks, Jimmy.
For the benefit of those of us who don't know, who are in the Cleeks and the Stingers?
That's a wonderful question. The Cleeks is comprised of Graham McDowell, Martin Keimer, Richard Bland and Bernd Wiesberger.
Yeah.
And Stinger, we've got Louis Oosthuizen, Charles Schwartzel. Hang on. Now we're testing
South African team.
It's all South Africans. So two more South Africans.
Burmester? No, he's
Dean Burmester and one other
and the other guy.
player.
The other
Brandon Grace, that would be.
Brandon Grace, there you go. Won the very first LIV event.
That's right.
In the history books.
Before we jump into this week, anything catch anyone's eye, particularly last week? I'm imagining it's probably got to do with LIV Golf Adelaide.
It was huge, wasn't it? I thought it was surprising. I didn't expect it to be that big. You were there, so we'll get some thoughts from you perhaps even tomorrow on our other podcast, which we'll expand a little bit. But yeah, I was surprised at just how insane it was.
It was, unbelievable how many people were actually there. And unbelievable how much alcohol they consumed, to be honest. But it was truly crazy. But still, I don't think anyone really knows what to make of the whole thing, even having spent a week there. So we will dive deeper into that maybe on another platform. But looking back at our own form last week, we had 4 top tens, including one win, which was myself tipping Lucas Herbert to win one of my new favourite trophies and outfits in Japan, being a samurai headdress and a green kimono. Logue, you're our Japanese expert. You can.
That was a bit of cultural appropriation.
Oh, absolutely, it was.
It was a lot going on.
What's Japanese? Let's put all of that in here.
Yeah, a lot. But great win by Lucas in a playoff where he got very fortunate that he hit it on a cart path and got some relief, and then a good line.
Champions make their own luck and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. So he was, and got there and didn't play any practice rounds at all last week, and all this sort of stuff. So great win. So
he looked determined all week. He looked like a bloke who was not going to let anybody else win the golf.
That was the vibe. I mean, tipping him last week was because he was going there for a purpose. He knew he was one of the best players in the field, and he expected to win. So,
absolutely.
So that takes us to 10 wins and 71 top tens for the year. Logue still leading the win count, but I'm fast closing in.
You're Rahm, and who are you then? Who's got a couple of wins apart from Rahm? Nobody.
Scotty Scheffler?
Yeah.
So he won a couple this year?
I don't want to be
Rahm's ascendant. Scheffler's on his way out, I reckon.
Yeah, that's probably a fair assessment of our careers.
Scheffler's had his Harrington 3-year window.
Yeah.
So this week, let's move on. And LIV Golf has a back-to-back week, a rarity for them. And they go to Singapore and the Sentosa Golf Club and the Serapong course. So a very familiar venue for tournament golf, having hosted Asian Tour, LPGA Tour, all sorts of tournaments over the years. Nothing really majorly surprising that we're going to find this week. Completely different to what they faced at the Grange last week. If you look at drone shots of Sentosa and Singapore, and it's water everywhere, big, huge, expansive bunkering, flat as a tack piece of land, tree-lined, all this sort of stuff, but very much what these guys are used to. So they'll all sort of get pretty comfortable pretty quickly, I'd imagine.
Florida in Asia?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Probably a little bit more interest in it. They constantly do some work. They do a lot of sustainability work
It's
at
relentless
Sentosa.
at Sentosa, isn't it?
So, it's always it's a good tournament venue. Not a great golf course, good tournament venue. So,
And they've had like 6 tournaments this year already.
yeah, it's just every week we get emails from the club saying, we've done this and done that for this tournament this week. Another one. But they've got a couple of courses there, helps move it around and, all that sort of stuff. But very suited to basically the LIV Golf sort of scene. In terms of, players to watch and stuff, it's the same players every week. So it's similar guys. But Taylor Gooch will be interesting to watch. Given his win last week, it was a real struggle on Sunday, having been head and shoulders above everyone else for the first 2 days. So how he bounces back will be interesting. Feels like it could be a bit of an ascendant moment for him amongst LIV Golf because he's a very talented player, but probably saw himself as just below that upper rung. Cam Smith will be interesting to watch because he is flat out exhausted. He was doing everything and anything last week. So how that plays out for him this week, going straight over to Singapore on Monday morning, not sure. Phil Mickelson, again, interesting to watch. Very determined last week. Didn't really want to talk to much media. Didn't want to do too many extras. Just wanted to work on his game. He's going to win one of these events in the next couple of weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, okay.
He's right there, and it's, I think, chasing a final little hurrah.
He's got to have one of these on his.
Yeah, absolutely.
Given his involvement in it, there has to be a trophy from one of the LIV events on his mantelpiece, or the whole thing's been a bit.
Yeah,
not quite.
Absolutely. Brooks Koepka's another one who, again, was really impressive last week. Only showed up, was in Adelaide from Sunday, only went to the golf course on Wednesday afternoon to see it, and still showed his class. Again, brilliant to watch. It's just how up for it he is for 3 days. And Patrick Reed was another one who found something. He's played, I think, some tournaments in Singapore before. And then there's a few others, Dustin Johnson and stuff like that, who showed signs but struggled a little bit, probably with the Grange, probably with tight lies and the style of golf. They'll be much more comfortable here. So
that level, though, Jimmy, most of us don't get the chance to see it very often, but players of that level, their poor golf is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's right.
It's incredible how good they are when they're playing badly.
Yeah, I think
it really is a different world.
I think there's the rank shot that they hit that people don't expect because they never see those on TV. But then the not playing their best. I mean, guys are, C1 Kim's probably a exemption to that rule last week. C1.
Did he have a 10 on one hole?
Yeah, the first hole, I think. He hit it in the toilets. Like, he hit it everywhere. They took them up to the roof of the Adelaide Oval to chip it out onto the Adelaide Oval tethered to the thing, the iron heads. That would be Kevin Na and C1 Kim and so. And they'd drawn a circle on the field for them to hit balls at, and C1 couldn't get it near the circle.
Really?
Like, he is mentally... Well, he got it on the oval, but he is having dire times. And it's like after he had the 10, he shot 84, I think, 83. Yeah. Next day he shot 71. Like he's still got it.
Here's what's interesting. If he was playing the PGA Tour or if he was playing the Asian Tour or the European Tour, he'd take a few weeks or a month off, sort himself out. No opportunity.
Nowhere to hide either.
Nowhere to hide.
I mean,
in a tiny field with a shotgun start, you stand on that first tee, it's like, 4 left, 4 right. Back him up a bit.
Well, Jed Morgan's in a similar state, not to the level of C1 Kim, but Jed's struggling with parts of his game. He's working really hard at it, but he's in this situation where, people will be, they'll be relegated at the end of the season. He's got to have that on his mind. Yeah. Cam Smith's brought him in and has done great things for him, but where he goes, if he does get relegated, surely on Jed's mind. Struggling really badly with a short wedge shot that he flares right. I saw him hit a couple of times last week, including on the range, which is a worry.
I could help him with that if he wants to master it.
Well, that's right. Well, that's right.
Master it so that it's the only shot he's got. I can help him with that.
Alim Kim as well.
That's right.
Too about
but he's got this, you would either want to go away and work at it constantly, or you would want to go and play a heap of tournament golf and just get back into the system of it. And he hasn't got the opportunity to do one or the other because he's kind of got to go where he goes. So
we can play all the
he can play Asian Tour events. Yeah, he can.
Want to,
but he can because he gets in with his LIV status. But whether 14 events is quite a few. And 14 events flung around the world is a lot of travel for a guy who's not used to it. He's young, so he's going to be up and about, but he's not worked out how you manage it all and do all that sort of stuff.
He's trying to build the aeroplane while it's in flight.
Correct. And there's a couple of guys with each team that are the sort of team management stuff. The guys with Cam and Ripper GC are probably a little bit, some of them inexperienced in managing that sort of stuff for a guy like that. So they've got help. Gary Barter, who is Matt Jones's coach, is there a lot. Grant Field, who's Cam's coach, is there a lot. And Dennis McDade, who's Leisha's coach, was there this week. But that's also a lot of different people willing to help. So if you're bouncing ideas off people and stuff like that, it can get to you. So
it is interesting. That relegation thing, that is actually interesting. It's one of the more interesting aspects of LIV. This notion of promotion and relegation is one of its more interesting aspects, I think.
Yeah, and you'd like to see it a bit more nailed down with exactly how it's going to work, but it's like everything. It's a bit of a state of flux.
Who doesn't want poor Jed to be under the most intense scrutiny as the last couple of events come around?
That's right.
It's like, mate, you need to avoid relegation. That's happens
right.
in football in the UK every year.
They've left the rules open a little bit, so for marquee players, it really
Correct.
they can keep them there.
Understandably so. They don't want to lose certain players, but then with the International Series Order of Merit, I would say they would look at who is there and decide how many they take. It's now an important part of the team's thing to have Ripper GC as an All-Australian team based off the success in Australia. If Jed's going to get relegated,
who comes up?
They look at the International Series Order of Merit. Thankfully, Kevin Yuan is currently in second, I believe. So Kevin Yuan could come in, but Kevin Yuan I don't think would have ever necessarily met the Australian team guys. So
maybe the Shark will step up and
there was a suggestion from someone that after Siwan Kim's first day that he should sit and the Shark should dust off the clubs and get out there. Would have brought in some excitement, I'll tell you. But
Shark could probably still get it around the Grange. Bad numbers just quietly.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he could. Yeah. But
good memories there too.
To be fair, the way the Grange played, I think anyone of that elite level could get, pins were not in very tough positions. Greens were pretty soft. Plays under 7,000 yards for those guys. That's driver wedges a lot.
It's crowning.
Yeah. Bryson DeChambeau barely need to hit driver.
It's all part of the party, though, isn't it, Jimmy? You put birdies on for the crowd. It's the same sort of thing they do at the Phoenix Open.
Absolutely.
You want to see players.
LIV Golf want to legitimise the talent level of their players, so having birdies, but they also want the scoring to be really good to grab attention, and it did. Taylor Gooch being 20 under par and leading by 10.
10 under around the Grange. I don't care where you play. 10 under par is a pretty handy round of golf.
It must be said, it looked amazing on TV. The Grange looks fantastic. It's just a great place.
I did have a call from Mike Clayton going, I can't work out what order the holes go in, so I had to go out and stand on the first tee so I could guide him around.
Did you FaceTime him right around? You're walking right around the whole course? That would have been the only way to placate him.
So amongst all of that, I'm going to go with Brooks Koepka this week. It's genuinely exceptionally difficult to pick winners in LIV Golf. He obviously has won twice, was good at the Masters and struggled on Sunday, was close but not all the way there in Adelaide. Second week on the road, feels like he'll just be into the rhythm of it, and it's a golf course that suits him down.
I was going to say, this is a style of golf that he just
goes up there and
flat track bully.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he's just got probably a level a lot of these guys don't have. So that's my tip. Logue, a tip from you?
I love that rationale, because I really do think with LIV, it's a matter of tracking a player's, like, where are they in their arc of form, and you see players come in and out of form, and they're just going to switch off some weeks. I feel like I think it comes from not being able to set their schedule.
No choice.
Absolutely.
They mentally, if they just don't have it, they're just not going to really turn up. They're going to quiet quit that week.
Yeah.
And looking at that, I feel like there's a little bit of unfinished business for Anaban Lahiri from last week. I feel like he's ascendant and still has something to prove in LIV, and I think he's my pick.
Former Asian Tour player, comfortable in the environment,
and the heat,
like everything about it.
Yeah, the heat.
He was very impressive last week,
Yeah.
and you could tell it meant a lot to him.
I think it does
he
too.
was grinding hard. One of the best guys out there too.
Yeah.
Like a genuinely good guy.
Super intelligent too.
Yeah.
Really intelligent.
Amazing
guy.
putter when he gets going too, which around a place like Sentosa separates someone because they're all going to hole putts.
Yeah.
But a guy who's a really good putter is going to not miss any. So
He's long too.
Yep.
I really like him for this week.
Yep. Rod?
Leishman, good round on Sunday.
Yep.
Has not stepped up in this thing since it started.
Yep.
About time, Leish, get on with it. He'll be happy after a week or two at home.
Yep.
Loves to be at home, Leishman, so he'll be in a good mood. But he'll be back to business because he's overseas.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. He was really up and about it last week, and I think that'll help spark him a little bit. Loves the atmosphere. I watched him on a tee just standing there bobbing his head as the music was playing. Yeah. Really into it, which I wouldn't have picked Leish to be that sort of guy. But and good
Did
result.
he drink out of a shoe? That's
he did
disgusting.
after he finished his.
What's wrong with these people?
I don't.
And why make it?
It's disgusting.
Why make it something you do it all the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's got to be.
Just stop it.
I said to Leash, because obviously the teams have an involvement in their merchandise, and the merchandise was a huge success for the Australian team last
Wasn't
week.
it incredibly expensive?
$60 a hat, $145 a shirt.
And how much allowance did you have with the media accreditation?
That's a nominal fee.
Living it high on
That-
South
that
oil
require-
money.
It wasn't quite enough to buy.
No, I need to go into my own pocket if I was to get anything else.
Stubby coolers couldn't get a stubby.
No, there was none of that small stuff. I don't think there was anything in there you could get change out of $50 from.
Wow.
You could buy Greg's white Live hoodie in there for about $220.
How much were the birdie smugglers?
$75
For a
for a pair of
flimsy
budgie
piece
smugglers that weren't as top notch as genuine budgie smuggler.
Not a lot of
Great
material.
brand in
Tiny
Manly
piece
that
of
I've
nylon.
had an involvement with. But yeah,
margin.
$75.
All right.
But I've said to Leash on Sunday, if you guys aren't selling LIV Golf Ripper GC branded shoes next year that are like made to hold a drink, you're missing a trick. So
With a Leishman lager.
yeah.
So as a package,
they ran
case
out
of
of
Leishman-
Leishman lager with
Don't
about 2
encourage
holes
it.
to go.
Case of Leishman lager and a pair of shoes. Anybody who wants to buy that, go ahead and buy it.
That's
Fantastic.
right. Let's move along and go to the PGA Tour and the Mexico Open at Vidanta. And Rod Morri, you are going to take us through it.
I am indeed. So let's start with the fact this is a Greg Norman course, but you'd never know that from reading the PGA Tour website. Who
I'm completely
preview
shocked.
the entire tournament, including talking about the course without ever mentioning the Sharks' name. Who's to say whether that's deliberate? Opened in 2016, this is a sort of almost a course built for tournament play, it would seem. Yep. It's got that. It's a resort course, big and wide, big greens, but when you want to, you can make it tough.
Yeah.
So for the pros to come. John Rahm defending and going back to defend, which I think is pretty impressive. He hasn't put a foot wrong since winning the Masters. Since before that, he has not put a foot wrong as an ambassador for the game. And he stands out this week.
Yes.
In a huge way. He stands out wherever he goes, but in this field, which is, well, these are the non-designated events, aren't they?
That's right. This is the reality. Yeah.
The European Tour and the non-designated PGA Tour events are essentially the same kind of tournaments. Names you've kind of heard, you see on the leaderboard, blokes who are really good players who bob up every couple of months, but they're not the big names of golf. So it'll be interesting in that sense. Water on 11 of the holes, some long par threes. They won't stress about all this sort of stuff. 17 under won it last year by a shot. Second was Tony Finau. He'll be my tip this week. Some interesting names in the fields. Oh, you're all going.
Well, we were all going with Tony Finau.
Well, if it's not going to be Rahm, and you'd think he's, well, maybe it'll be Rahm. We'll come to that.
We'll come to that in a moment.
Interesting names in the field. Boo Weekley.
Played on the Corn Ferry Tour last week and was wrapped up in Shuttlegate, where a bunch of players got disqualified for
I haven't
taking.
investigated
Go and
that
have
fully,
a look
but
at Monday Q Info,
Case of the Golf,
who's now done a separate story about it. It is one of the most bizarre things, and
Happens on the secondary tour a lot, that sort of nonsensical stuff, like really stupid stuff. That's
people
like, that shouldn't be allowed.
I saw something about that it was a volunteer who said it was okay and everything like that, and people saying tournament official, but important designation between volunteer and tournament official. Volunteers, wonderful work they do. Couldn't run golf tournaments without them. Don't necessarily always know the detail.
Tournament officials have turn up every week and you know who they are. They're the ones you listen to. Everybody else is, thank you very much. Like a pro-am.
Correct.
Thanks for the tip on where to hit it, but I play a different game to you, so I'll play my shot here.
Speaking of tournament officials, shout out to Slugger White's hair dye.
Yeah,
last
you
week.
mentioned that.
Yeah.
Amazing Albany chestnut colour.
Pics? Can we put a link in the show notes?
And one of the great accents of all time, Slugger.
Is he still wearing the hat?
Yeah,
though?
of course he is.
Has he penalised anybody yet?
I'm not aware of any penalties on LIV.
Don't think he did.
I
it.
think
Don't
it'd be pretty
penalised anybody
severe
on
if
the
it
PGA
was.
Tour either, did he? From memory? So.
No.
Anyway, so Boo Weekley's in the field. I didn't realise. I went and had a look at his record. He actually tees it up a couple of times a year. I thought he'd disappear
Yeah,
completely.
he does. Yeah.
But in weird places. He played in Puerto Rico earlier this year. Now
Well,
he's
that's
gone to
where they
Mexico.
can get into those events.
So Jimmy Walker
Yep.
Yeah.
played a ride at the Heritage. It's opened with 265s. Could be one to watch this week on the comeback. He's had Lyme disease. You're a Lyme disease skeptic, are you not, Logue? Am I imagining that? There's somebody else who's a Lyme disease skeptic.
No, that was me. Yeah.
You still?
Oh,
No comment.
Could get cancelled here if you by the Lyme disease community.
Nikolai Højgaard and Ryan Gerard both got their special temporary membership.
Yes.
So they're both playing this week and they'll be on a high. Good luck to them. Australians in the field. Baddeley, Chalmers, Endicott, Ogilvy and Percy. Hensby, having won on the Champions Tour last week, is actually the fourth alternate this week. I doubt he'll be in Mexico. I doubt he'd get in the field, but
He was going to give up last year too.
Yeah, did you see the Champions Tour did a piece on him, which I saw on Twitter?
Yeah.
He's a really good guy, Mark. He's,
Really interesting guy.
He's an interesting guy. He's outspoken. He's intelligent. He's never quite got to the level that you feel like he should have and
Top
could
10
have.
in every major.
2005.
Yeah, an extraordinary
He had a
2005
really
it was.
great year.
Yeah.
But best known for ribbing the Shark one year. He
Yeah.
said something about Greg Norman, said, something about, I've never met him. All the Australians used to rabbit on about how good the Shark was when you went to the sea. He said, I never met the bloke. And his phone rang 2 days later and it was the Shark.
Yeah, that's right.
Who do you think you are?
Also well known for being suspended from the PGA Tour. for
Indeed.
illicit
Which is
substances.
a bizarre story.
Yes. Very
But look, he's a good guy. He's got a son with special needs.
Yep.
So, family life's not easy no matter how much money you've got or anything else that you're doing. Being away from home under those circumstances wouldn't be easy. So, look, that's got nothing to do with this week's play. But good on Mark Hensby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good guy. Been coming back to Australia the last few years and playing as well.
Yep.
New South Wales Open secondary events.
Tamworth.
Given that you guys, from Tamworth,
Yeah.
Long Yard Golf Club, which was originally to be designed by Sevi Ballesteros.
There you go.
Yeah. He even went up there and had a look at the site.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Then they went with the Shark.
There you go.
I think there was some perhaps financial disagreement with Sevi about how much they thought they should pay and how much Sevi wanted to be paid.
Fair enough. Some tips from everyone. Rod?
Okay. I'll go off Tony Finau and go with Jimmy Walker because you blokes will both probably want to go with Tony Finau.
Well, I'll allow you to go first, Adrian.
I'm going with Tony Finau.
Okay, that's fine. I will go.
As if you haven't won enough this year. Can't you give anybody else
Yeah,
a
that's
chance?
right. Can't you give anyone else a chance?
This has worked out perfectly for me.
Yeah, that's right. I will go with, let's go with Nikolai Højgaard.
Oh, the Højgaards disappointed me last week.
Well, now they're going to disappoint you again by giving me a win. So there you go.
We'll see.
He's a very good player. And
Really good player.
Belongs on the PGA Tour.
That special temporary membership thing too will give both of him and that Ryan. Is it Jared or Gerard? I can never.
I think it's Jared.
I think so. But they'll both have a boost of confidence from that and a little bit of they can set their schedule a bit. It's a whole different world now. So okay, take a breath. Now we just go and play.
Those guys, once they get that, tend to go to another level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
To be fair to Højgaard as well, last week he played superbly.
Yeah, but
And,
weighed down by who was it?
Ollison.
Yeah.
Ollison
Your man.
was horrendous.
Yeah. Let's head a little bit north into mainland North America in the United States and the LPGA Tour, the JM Eagle LA Championship presented by Plast Pro. Tell us about it, Adrian Logue.
Well, I bet you're dying to know what JM Eagle do.
I actually am, yes.
I really am too.
I am.
deliberately didn't look
This
it
is
up
one of my favourite games because,
I wanna know.
They're a manufacturer of plastic pipe for various industrial applications. So,
Logo, fonts. Have you done a breakdown? Thoughts?
the most derivative logo you can ever imagine, like quadruple swooshes around a really generic typeface and with an eagle sort of worked in there as well. It's
Vanilla?
It's a lesson in cliche.
surely they would have had the opportunity to do something with some like drawn plastic pipe.
Yeah, I think the swooshes are meant to represent pipe. I don't know. It's a complete trash logo. And
Okay.
Thanks for sponsoring.
Thanks for sponsoring the podcast, JM Eagle.
Plast Pro are
imagine
a
they make
maker of
plasters.
high quality. Well, yeah. What do you guessing?
I'm guessing like a Band-Aid type deal, plasters.
No, I would have gone with plastic pipes.
Yeah, you'd think plastic pipes, and I like your thinking. Very left field with the plasters.
Drag that
Yeah,
to the wound doctor.
you're
Wrong
both
company.
you're both wrong. They make fiberglass doors.
Of course they do.
Of course
Yeah.
they do. Somebody has to.
So, JM Eagle manufacturer of plastic pipe, Plast Pro manufacturer of fiberglass doors.
Where would you use a fiberglass door?
I had no idea there was a thing until
why do you
now.
I
need
had a look at a few of their
Fiberglass
fiberglass doors, and they look like just normal doors.
That's the trick of them.
That's the trick.
You'd
of them.
never know they were fiberglass because they're masters of the craft.
They can get like wooden stains on them that makes them just look like a big timber door.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a podcast in that.
Yeah.
The sponsors.
At least from a distance. That's for the promotional photos on the website. From a distance, they just look like a normal door.
Okay.
Yeah. And door frames as well, interestingly. Anyway.
Well, if you don't have a fiberglass door, you're not going to have a metal or wood
Interestingly,
door.
is an
frame,
interesting turn of phrase there, but anyway.
Yeah, it's moderately interesting.
Any golf related? to
Anything
this,
golf in this or?
Together, they've been able to put together a purse of $3 million, which makes this one of the highest purses in the LPGA Tour outside of the majors.
Which has a sort of a designated system via the majors, doesn't it? Where the purses are enormous and the rest of the tour is like less than half.
Indeed. And it's played this week at Wilshire Country Club, which we're familiar with, of course, from the LA Open or the LPGA's LA Open over the last few years, which moved obviously to Palos Verdes, and now, but it's good that we've got Wilshire still on the schedule. But this is the inaugural JM Eagle LA Championship presented by Plast Pro, so no defending champion. The tagline they're using is the LPGA goes to Hollywood, as if it's the first time it's happening. But yeah, that's their entitled.
I'm imagining they'll have their Hollywood sign for the winner to poke.
Of course, there's some sightlines. I think it's the 9th at Wilshire has a great sightline of the Hollywood sign in the distance, and that famous hotel, L something. There's a hotel there. In the field, it's a really, really good field. Most of the world top 10, most of the world top 20, in fact. Lilia Vu is playing fresh off her win at the Chevron. Do we want to talk a little bit about the Chevron?
Let's just move on a bit.
We're going to keep moving along,
All right.
We've got tomorrow.
The field also includes Nelly Korda, Jin Young Ko, Taya Titakun, Minji, Brooke Henderson, Celine Boudier, Hyojun Kim, all top 10 players. The women's golf is so strong at the moment. Yeah. Georgia Hall, the form player on the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, isn't even in the world top 10 at the moment.
Yeah.
But she's an absolute gun, in great form. But I think she's going to be totally gassed this week. I don't think she's
played a lot.
She's played a lot of golf.
A lot of good golf. Very little.
Yeah.
So the LPGA Tour is kind of spoilt with how good and how deep it is that they all show up, that it doesn't get that same kick along at a big event like the men's tour does, really.
It's amazing, isn't it? Lilia Vu, 2-time winner this year now. She's still not cracked the top 10 either.
Another one who was going to quit and then kept going.
Yeah, great, interesting career. The likes of Nasa Haraoka are outside the top 10 at the moment. But anyway, in the field for Australians, there's aforementioned Minji Lee, Hannah Green, Grace Kim, Steph Kiriakou, Sarah Kemp, the usual suspects, and honorary Aussie So-Yeon Ryu is in the field. The field also includes California native Natalie Golbus on a special sponsors exemption.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Wilshire is the real star for me. That field, you come to expect such a great field from these high-level LPGA events. It's just what you expect. They all turn up. It's amazing.
Week in and week out.
Yeah.
Almost.
So in adding to that mix, we've got the stunning Wilshire Country Club, which is obviously familiar to us from LA Open in recent years. It was originally designed in 1920 by Norman Macbeth, and it features a natural barranca. It's in play on 13 holes.
Barranca. I love when they play in California and you get a barranca.
Yeah, and
it's just basically a dry creek. But.
Exactly. It's a fancy name for a dry creek. But the barranca is really showcased by the recent work done there by Kyle Phillips, who did a lot of restoration of the bunkers and restoring the sort of ragged edges of the bunkers that were original, like feature of the course in the 1920s, and cleared a lot of those sightlines, which is what's made that Hollywood sign more visible. It features some amazing par threes. You'll remember the 18th. They play it as the 18th in the LA Open. It's actually the 10th.
Yes.
Long, narrow green, and every single, it's a reasonably short shot with the way that where they place the tee, but every single place you miss that narrow, slender green is a hellish up and down.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fantastic finishing hole. I'm actually not sure. I couldn't find anywhere online whether they're using that routing for the event this week.
LPGA especially, very hard to find out anything about their courses.
But I think it plays as a fantastic finishing hole in the LA Open. It's a very demanding course. I would say perhaps more demanding than what we saw last week at the Jack Nicklaus signature course at the club at Carlton Woods. And given that test and the quality of the field, I think fatigue is going to be a real issue for some of the players who contended last week. And there's a couple, I think, who are a bit of a standout. I like Hinako Shibuno this week. I think she's played well at the LA Open before. But my pick is going to be Jin Young Ko, who has unfinished business with the Brankers at Wilshire.
Yes. Rod, a thought?
I'm going to go with Minji Lee as a tip. I was just going to say about that. You said a more demanding course than last week. It was a difficult scoring golf course, I thought, Joe. They really seemed to struggle to make birdies, and it was very easy to drop shots. There was a lot of poor golf. There was a lot of high scoring last week. So more demanding, or just a more demanding in a fuller test?
I would say more mentally taxing.
I would say it's a mentally demanding golf course.
You're going to have to use all the clubs.
Wilshire is one of those places where there's not a tee shot you take a rest mentally. Yeah. You know, whereas Carlton Woods was, you stand on every tee and you kind of know what you have to do, and then your second shot's tough, but mentally it's
tough, especially if you
quite a straightforward sort of a one. Yeah.
It'll be the star of the show. I agree with you. Fabulous example. If you're just starting an interest in golf course architecture, this is a terrific week to watch. This is what we used to call sporty golf. It's fantastic.
Often overshadowed by some of those other LA courses from George Thomas, like the Bel Air and Riv and LACC.
Yeah. Not in membership.
This is up there.
It's got the membership, doesn't it? Wilshire, or it's one next to.
Yeah, I think Wilshire's the one they don't allow Hollywood stars to be members.
I'm pretty confident that's right. Yeah. Howard Hughes' house along one of the fairways.
Well, yeah, famously Howard Hughes, I think, used to have one of his actresses try and distract golfers from like the balcony.
I think you can see
the
Playboy Mansion off the back of one of the things as well.
Oh, really? It's near LACC.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Because LACC has the Playboy Mansion. You might be.
Yeah. Your tip, sorry, Ron?
I'm going with Minjee. Previous winner here. I think the course suits her. She had a decent last round at the Chevron when lots of players didn't.
Yes. I think of the Australians actually. Hannah Green shapes well here. She always seems to play well there.
Yeah.
But my tip is Carlota Singanda from Spain, who had a good week last week and a good week the week before, and is just a clinical ball striker.
Absolute flusher.
Terrific player. But
golf course that should suit her hasn't ever seemed to really go to the level I would have thought.
Not a winner.
No, not a winner.
Constant contender, but just not a consistent winner.
And so
you're happy with picking a proven non-winner?
I bring something to the table, and my support might get her over the line.
All right.
Ask Lucas Herbert.
Mathematically, eventually, she's got to win another.
She's got to win at some
mathematically,
stage.
yeah. No, that's a good call, Jimmy. I'm with you on that. That's nice.
Finally, let's go to Korea and the DP World Tour with their Korea Championship presented by Genesis. A lot of presenting partners this week. Genesis, huge supporter of golf, but anyway.
Oh, they are an enormous supporter of golf. You're quite rightly so. Probably saved Tiger Woods' life too. But this is not an ad for Genesis, so let's move on.
Could be. Make a call, Genesis.
That's right. Email addresses on the website. This is as much about politics as it is about golf. So the DP World Tour at the end of last year signed an agreement with the Korean Tour, obviously given the LIV Golf influence with the Asian Tour. Didn't want to lose a foothold. The European Tour has been very active in Asia for a long time. Clearly didn't want to lose that foothold. So there's nothing wrong with that. The Korean Tour is a perfectly legitimate tour. Their players don't travel much, but there's plenty of good players in Korea. It's not some secondary mini tour idea. It is a legitimate tour. So this is a good
huge
opportunity.
Number of local players in this field as well, isn't there?
Well, it's one of the hardest tours to get on. I think Nathan Ubergang many years ago managed to get on the Korean Tour. He just said it's the craziest sort of golf you can imagine. You used to occasionally see videos come out of, I think it was, who was the trick shot guy?
Henry Epstein.
He had that famous video about 10 or 12 years ago. He showed you how fast the greens is. He lipped out this putt. And he just started this music, which went for 35 seconds as the ball just kept going and going and going down the hill. So you see some pretty crazy stuff in Korea. You won't get that this week, I don't think. Is it the course that hosted the President's Cup in 2015? Which was one of the best President's Cups.
It was fantastic. Yeah,
Speaking
that's right.
of Lahiri, he missed a tittle on the 18th, if you recall, to not harm his match. And
Sungmoon Bay's playing this week, I believe, as well.
Yeah, poor kid who missed off the chip on the
Yeah.
last. So Lahiri's still trying to
he hasn't thought about it for a while, so you'll appreciate that.
Really damaged him for a couple of years, Lahiri. Anyway, so it'll be interesting. It is an interesting golf course. The drivable par 4 14th was fabulous during that President's Cup. The golf will be good. We won't know.
Jack Nicklaus course, isn't it?
It's a Jack Nicklaus course, yeah.
Jack Nicklaus Golf Club, isn't it?
It's the Jack Nicklaus Golf Club in Korea, which cost $70 million to build.
Cheap.
Because it's
Cheap.
Incheon is a city that they've reclaimed.
Incheon is a dredge.
It's a whole development idea. It's its own city. And it's
some great cityscape views from the golf course.
Yeah, I think Samsung are headquartered there, maybe even Hyundai.
Yep.
A bunch of sort of big Korean companies. So it's a whole show.
I'd say Hyundai, given it's presented by Genesis. Correct.
Hyundai?
Yeah, but Genesis
is
of course, arm of Hyundai.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting in that way. $70 million to build it, and apparently double that to build the high-performance training centre and practice facilities that go along with it. Anyway, 57 Korean Tour players, including Australians Won Jun Lee and Kevin Lee. Unrelated. People might remember Won Jun from Sydney.
I certainly do. When I was a junior, Woonjun was the absolute star.
How much
hit it a mile.
than you was he? It's just an animal.
50 metres
He
putted the dots off at Woonjun.
Yeah, absolutely.
With
Great
his
player.
LG hat on all the time.
Nearly won an Australian Open. The Craig Parry won in 2007. Had his chances there. Really, really good player.
Member at Concord.
Yeah. So went to the Korean Tour a long time ago. He's been playing there for many years. So they're probably the only Korean Tour players that I know that are in the field.
I looked through that list of local players and I didn't recognise anybody.
No, that's exactly right.
Well, that's interesting you mentioned the LIV thing. I mean, LIV hasn't hooked in with Japan and Korea yet. So the DP World Tour has gone to Japan and Korea the
they've
last
made
2
this
weeks.
little Asian swing.
Yeah, because
Did Liv
C1
try and get
Kim-
rebuffed, do we know? Or
Yes, well, with Hideki Matsuyama for sure. There's the Korean players, maybe not so much the profiles outside of Korea, as you mentioned, are not so much there, but they realise these small markets that support golf are very important. So,
Liv might have learnt the same lesson from Adelaide at the weekend too.
well, that it shows the rule about that sort of stuff that, you know, these are the markets that's going to be successful. So
It's one of the things the PGA Tour has kind of lost its way with.
Yes.
It used to play in small markets that were starved of other sports and all of those sorts of things. It's one of the ways they built the PGA Tour, and they now kind of ignore all of those small markets. They take the Corn Ferry Tour there, so people kind of feel like they're getting a secondary deal.
yeah,
Anyway,
other Korean players you would know would be Bio Kim,
There's
Soo Min Lee.
a few, but you'd have to follow golf pretty closely to immediately recognise
correct.
most of those players, which, you know, quite likely the winner will come from that group. Quite possibly. So, look, in terms of the European Tour field, the players you'd expect, Bob McIntyre, Richie Ramsey, that kind of level of play. Adrian Merrick, the Australian Open winner.
Adrian.
Cao Tong Lee, Guido Migliozzi.
Yep.
Good players. It'll be an entertaining tournament. My interest will be in David Micheluzzi,
Yes.
who gets a start. Now, does he get the start? I don't think his membership starts.
No, it doesn't
until
start
the
till
end
the
of the year,
Australian
does it?
PGA
So
Championship.
I
So
assume he's on an
He's
invite of
on
some sort.
a.
I forgot to look at what his category was.
It's just an invitation.
An invitation to.
Basically, him and Sangmu Bay both on invitations, but he will get some starts throughout the year to keep him ticking over because they go, you've got a DP World Tour card, but it doesn't kick in until the end of November. He's got to find somewhere to go until then, and they're mindful that they're then open for
And
excitement elsewhere.
to his credit, he will be a worthwhile invitee at any tournament that he goes
Absolutely.
to. He's got
Tries
personality,
guts
he's got
out.
spark, he's great to watch. Everything about him is good. He's a professional in the making, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him do really well this week. The energy he brought to the Australian summer was quite remarkable.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
if he can keep that going, which I think he will, he's pretty determined, and he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder about world ranking points and all those sorts of stuff. So he's got. So look, I'm actually going to tip him this week.
Oh, okay.
I probably
That
don't
seem to be what you were building up.
I probably
assume so.
don't think he's actually going to win, but I'd like to be on him just in case. It wouldn't be out.
Very
of
confident tip then.
Winning form, he won 4 times or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't be a surprise. Put it that
No.
way. It's not something you'd necessarily tip. It wouldn't be. A
It should be in the conversation. Shouldn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
If he's comfortable in that environment there,
Yeah, I think he will be. I think he will be. It will.
Tip from you, Logue?
I'm going with Big Bob McIntyre.
Okay.
Got to win something again eventually.
I feel like you saying I was setting up for disappointment with Carlotta Singanda. I think that is pot kettle situation.
I love
Bob McIntyre.
I'll cop that. Yeah,
But it's a highway to heartbreak. I think.
he's on notice.
Okay.
He won't get many more tips from me
He's on
unless he starts showing.
That'll spark
winning.
him this
And
week.
if he doesn't think you're serious, have a look at Rio
Yeah,
from last week. Rio
Hitsutuni.
Hitsutuni.
Yeah,
Gone.
he's gone.
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 Yeah.
True.
That's what can happen, Bob.
That's what can happen.
Trying to find a winner
That's
here
what you
is very difficult. So I'm just going to go with one of my favourite players in Kiradech Afibanrat.
Oh, I wouldn't, yeah.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be great to see?
Love the
Would
barn rat.
Love to see him win again.
Just golf game is so cool to watch. So I'd just love to see him.
Big
win
men
again.
with soft hands. There's something
Oh,
about that. Isn't
And
there?
great swagger.
I love when there's a big guy and he's got a good short game and everyone just says, oh, he's got great hands. Like Kiradech could probably maybe tell you he hits everything with his chest, but you got great hands.
Yeah.
So it's just good. So
John Daly had great hands.
he did.
amazing
Kiradech
hand
does have great hands. I've told this story a million times. My favourite moment covering golf tournaments was watching a short game competition between Brett Rumford and Kiradech Afibanrat around the chipping green at Lake Carrinup in Perth.
Nice.
For like an hour.
Yeah.
And I just sat on the hill behind them and watched this thing. 2 completely different methods, but 2 of the best I've ever seen.
Yep.
And they were loving it too. Players, that was one of those ones players come around and start watching.
Somewhat opposite physiques too, you would suggest.
Yes.
Kiradech and Rumford.
I reckon Kiradech's had steaks that are bigger than Brett Rumford. So. That'll do us for this week on Playing from the Tips. We'll be back next week. But in the meantime, keep up to date on all the action from these tournaments and much, much more at our website, golfaustralia.com.au, where you can also go in the draw to win $5,000 worth of Titleist gear by voting for your favourite 18 holes in Australia. That competition ends soon, so get on there and enter now.